Mohr and Wolter of Germany on the right of your screen. On the Buchan station. This is the lightweight men's double of Germany.
Attention!
Against a crew that's just thrown themselves together from what I hear on Instagram.
Now this will be interesting because definitely Buchan and Free have some horsepower in this boat, but this lightweight double, they have been racing at the World Cups through the season. I think they're off to they're under 23 world champions as well, so fantastic crew. They'll be maybe to the line here.
Yeah, Cam Buchan there in the bow seat. Many might see him. He does a lot of vlogging, a lot of Instagramming, and both these crew members you're looking at here have actually qualified in the single scull as well. Buchan got knocked out yesterday, and they're what we call heavyweights. No weights in the programme at Henley anymore, but they're heavyweights against this lightweight double of Germany. Is that going to be useful for them in this headwind today?
I think so, and what you can see here is that definitely the German crew are taking more strokes per minute, and when you have a little bit less horsepower, maybe you have to take a few more strokes because maybe your boat might not travel quite so far per stroke. In the Buchan and Free on the Berkshire station, they just seem to be rowing a bit longer, taking a few fewer strokes and letting that boat run a bit. But the Germans are moving back on them.
You'd expect to see the slightly heavier, stronger rowers be able to power the start quicker than the lightweights. This is the point of the race. It's going to be absolutely vital. Who is going to make that move and put themselves ahead? And right now, it's the Australian/Scottish double of Buchan and Free, and the top of your screen in the black. And they've got enough power just to keep moving and tapping that boat along.
I'm really impressed though. This water is turbulent. You can see how bouncy it is. Both the crews are really cleanly entering the water. Their blades are not hanging around, they're straight in. So you can see that nothing's missing. Two pretty technically accomplished boats.
Yeah, and actually the pedigree of all these rowers is, I mean, I've got a sheet in front of me. Their stats go off the page pretty much. We have rowers that are very seasoned scullers and are used to this. And I tell you what though, they're staying side by side. It could be anyone's game right now.
One thing when you're a heavyweight rower racing against lightweights is you are nervous because there's a reason they're in different categories. Typically the heavyweights should be faster than the lightweights. Now that's not always the case, but when you're racing head to head, now I've done it a few times racing here at Henley against lightweight crews, you're really nervous. You're really nervous, especially on a longer race, sometimes a windy one. The lightweights really want to take a scalp on you.
Yeah, absolutely. As we pan down there, looking at Jackson Free in the stroke seat. He's coming from Australia. He's got multiple national level titles, and he's raced a lot at the Queensland Championships, it looks like. So he's obviously from Queensland State. But the German lightweight double on the left-hand side of your screen here, in the yellow Empacker boat, German-made boat, they're actually staying with them. And right now, what are you thinking if you're in this Buchan and Free double? What are you thinking about the other crew, Jack?
I think what they'll be thinking, and in the perspective you have in the rowing boat where you're racing going backwards, if you're leading, you can see the crew behind you, but they never feel like they're that far behind. And what they'll notice every move that Mohr and Wolter are making, and they won't feel comfortable. It will probably feel quite hectic.
A little look across there, and a call actually from Finn Wolter in the stroke seat, and he's probably said let's go. They're right there. They've got this international racing pedigree, and I think it's showing now. Here they come. Here the Germans are moving, the top of your screen. Watch their bow ball. This is what I always do. I'd look at the bow ball in comparison to that bow seat of Cam Buchan. Is it moving? And it is. I think they're taking an inch a stroke at the moment.
That's a really impressive move. In about 10 strokes, they've taken half a length there. That, I wonder what the call was or what they thought about, because, you know, sometimes in a race you might think about working harder, or you might think of a technical efficiency you can make that helps your boat go, but they are really moving now.
It's funny in rowing, we almost just sometimes want to look at it and go, just row harder. Well, if you're watching this, they are rowing hard. They're going as hard as they possibly can, and the changes might come as a technical move. You might take the strokes per minute up. You might say, hold on, let's just move the hands away quick at the finish line, throw them away. You might think, sharpen up that front end, drop it in a bit quicker. There's all sorts of things you can do to make that move, and that was an absolute blow. Look at that, they've gone right through Buchan and Free.
Yeah, that's a really impressive move. You know, they'll now be looking, can we break to clear water? Can we put a real gap between us and Buchan and Free? Because once you break that water, it's a lot harder to come back. If you still have the other crew in your periphery, you might still you know, have the energy and have the motivation to get them. And right now, it's not over.
How do you do that, Jack? If your crew that's behind on a one-on-one, you've raced here a million times, a one-on-one race, what are you saying? You raced, actually, I should say this, yesterday when you came from behind. What are the calls in the crew that's happening?
Well, the call is, we're still with them, we're still with them. And then, well, for us, it was, let's go. And the amount of times I shouted, go through the steward's enclosure, like, it's ridiculous. But if I were the Buchan and Free right now, I would be trying to start my sprint for the line early, because you have to win. You have to do everything you can, and you can't leave it late.
Do we see that many times, taking the lead, losing it, and taking the lead again at Henley? It's a hard one, isn't it?
It's definitely a hard one. You can see the pain on their faces. Now, for anyone that's not road that's watching this, it really is all in. You know, from stroke go, you are going as hard as you can. It's a pretty difficult sport in that, Jess. I'm sure you've had many horror stories of tough races.
Yeah, I certainly have. There's a race just before you came on where the Lee snapped their all. I've actually snapped my all at a major championship, so I've been there with them, but this is an absolute nail biter through the middle of this course. But now it looks like it's going all Germany's way. They're moving. They've never taken that rate down. Lightweights, as you called it, they've had less body weight to leave off those O's, but they've used it really well, haven't they? Yeah,
what I really like about how this lightweight crew is moving, you can see how they move their hands away at the end of the stroke. And if you watch that and watch their boat next time you get a side-on view, you'll see their boat kind of speed up after the end of the stroke. Now that will be getting them a kind of 1.5 foot extra.
Yeah, it's funny, the boat's actually travelling its fastest the minute you've taken your oar out of the water. So if you can, what we call that, can look after that boat speed at that point of the stroke, you're changing direction. And you can see that here, great, they're moving twice, they're changing direction in a stroke. And all you want to do is keep that bow ball moving forwards. So you're almost, the coach once said to me, you've got to be a kind of a ballerina at that part of the rowing stroke. You have to be poised and on your feet, because your feet are strapped into your shoes in that boat, and you have to look after your hull speed.
It's quite a beautiful mixture in rowing, isn't it? Because you're so brutal with what you have to do under the water. You have to be forceful. Everyone has to do that bit. But if you can also be delicate and smooth and efficient with it, like we're seeing from the Germans now, you really pay dividends.
This is lovely sculling as they come towards progress boards. A little look around there in the bow seat. Mohr in the bow seat has a look. Maybe you slightly take in some of that crowd for a second, or you're pretty spent from what you've done all the way down the course.
You definitely have to enjoy it. I've seen and spoken to a few people around who, on an international cruise, I said, why have you come here? They said, to race at the greatest regatta on earth. So you have to enjoy every part of it.
We'll check around that they're actually at the finish line. Oh, yeah, almost finished before the line there. Maybe they can get one stroke of recovery in. As we see Buchan and Free of Surfers Paradise Australia cross in second place. That's a win for Mohr and Wolter of Germany in the double Sculls Challenge Cup against Buchan and Free of Surfers Paradise.